Guys, how is everybody doing? And welcome to my own personal ranking of all six Omen movies. Sorry this video is a little late. I usually try to get these rankings out by Sunday or early Monday, but I had a busy weekend. It was my birthday this past weekend. Getting older every year, apparently. So yeah, this video is a little late, and once again, this is my own personal ranking of all the Omen movies. I'm gonna say that every ranking because why not? This is just my own personal ranking. I rank these by rewatchability. So instead of saying that my list is wrong or I don't have good taste in movies or whatever, how about you just leave me your ranking of all six Omen movies in the comments below? Or have you even seen these movies? I doubt you would watch all these movies, but that all the way, here's my own personal ranking of all six Omen films, ranked from worst to best. Coming in at number six, by far the worst of this franchise, and the one it was just a chore to get through at that point. And that is The Omen 3, The Final Conflict. This is one of the most disappointing films I've ever seen because this is Damien's final chapter in this whole Damien franchise. This is the final time we ever get to see Damien, presumably. And I gotta tell you, oh boy, this was a chore to get through. I had a horrible time watching this film. Every decision that they just decided to make made no sense, and they have one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to a horror film, and they actually kill babies in this film. If you're gonna make a horror film, don't cross that line. That's just for me personally. And then they also got the omens, the accident kills, where they're not even accidents, and they might as well not have been kills or been there because they're not even accidental deaths. They're deaths that just happen, that get murdered. It's downright murder in this film. And then they completely ruined Damien and Sam Neill. God bless him. He's a fantastic actor. I think he's one of the best actors out there. But this film just looked like he did not want to be there. He just did not care. He just looked like he was just there to get a paycheck and just leave. And the dialogue that he reads off, like the monologues that he has to read, I felt horrible for him that he was there. I'm really hoping that he regretted making this movie because I know I would have. But all in all, it's a final chapter to this overall trilogy that's been built up and seeing what Damien's story will end up like. And this is what they gave us, and it's horrible. And you know how this franchise has been kind of building up like Satan versus Jesus or Damien versus Jesus or God or whatever, something like that, right? You want to know what they do for the final few moments of this movie to end Damien's story? This is how they do it. A girl tricks Damien into thinking that she can show where Jesus is. For some stupid reason, Damien actually falls for it and actually believes her. He goes to this place, and when his guard is down, he's looking for Jesus. He's wondering what the hell's going on. Now, while his guard is down, he gets stabbed in the back and he dies. And then he goes on his knees and says, "You have won nothing." And he collapses and he dies. Do you know how many people have tried that in this entire trilogy so far and have not survived? Or not even gotten close to this guy. Not one person has even come this close to killing Damien. And apparently, when his guard is down, he just dies. One of the most unbelievable endings to Damien's story. And at number 5, which barely beat Omen 3, The Final Conflict, for worst place, and it came close to worst place, but I gave it a slight edge, and that is the Omen remake. I will be completely honest, I didn't even bother to review this movie. I planned on reviewing it. I looked at my schedule as I usually do. I put this on the day I planned on reviewing it. But the day I went to review it, I watched the film, and I went to go click on record to film this video, but I was like, there's no point in reviewing this film. I've already talked about it because it's the same film as the original. It's line for line and shot for shot. There's seriously nothing new in this film. I technically can't call this film bad because it's the same film as that original 1976 film. So I can't really say anything. So basically, what this film is and why this film even exists is because Fox saw the date June 6, 2006, 666, and they wanted to release this film, so they rushed it into theaters, and we just got a exact film of that 1976 original, like 30 or 40 years later. That is what we get. I technically can't talk about this film because I've already talked about the original film, and this is the same film. But I will say this: Julia Stiles and Liev Schreiber, well, I think are great actors. I think they're great for their time. They're still great. Whenever they show up, I think they're great. But I feel they were miscast. They just look like they gave no fucks to give. They honestly feel like they didn't even want to be there. It felt like they were just there and they just wanted a paycheck and just go home. They give bland performances. They give lifeless performances. It just feels like they just don't want to be there. And like something about that original film that I love so much is that it makes you think about things and it makes you envision the gore and the kills themselves. It's not over explicit with its gore or its kills. But this film does the opposite of that. It's really over explicit and they go balls to the walls and turn it up to 10 with their kills. Now, again, I kind of understand that because this was around the time like Saw and Hostel were coming out, and this was like really like torture porn era and like really gory effects. So I understand that's what audiences are expecting nowadays. So when you look at that original film and how it's not over explicit and the kills are still great, but when you come to this film, it just bothers me a little bit. And that's just something small. But again, I can't talk about this movie because I already reviewed it. So that's the only reason I didn't review this movie. That's why you'll never get a review from me because it's the same film as that 76 film because all I would be telling you is the same stuff I already told you. Coming in at number 4, which surprisingly wasn't the final film on this list. That wasn't the worst of this list, and that is Omen 4, The Awakening. Now, this, by all means, is a horrible film. But, again, all means this is a terrible film. However, this movie it crosses the line of being so bad that it's good. Maybe that's the only reason I got some enjoyment out of this film. It's just how laughably bad this film is, especially the kills. Oh my god. I've already talked about them, but the one that comes to my mind whenever I think of this stupid ass film is the one with the nanny and when she dies. Like, I can't even talk about it, it's so stupid. So basically what happens, Delia, who is the omen of this film, she's looking at her weird, and then she like starts freaking out. I'm assuming that she felt like a powerful presence from her about like the Antichrist or protector, technically. And she starts backing away. You want to know what she does? She doesn't do anything smart. She doesn't run down the stairs or run out the door. You want to know what she does? She goes into another room, like across from Delia's room, and locks herself in there. Doesn't bother to open the window to scream for help or try to climb out or something. You wanna know what she does? She starts banging on the window and starts screaming for Delia's mother. And then the dog breaks through that door and pushes her out the window. I I've never laughed so hard at a moment that was meant to be so serious. This film is fucking hilarious. Now, if you want to watch this film and have a damn good time by laughing at it, definitely for you. But if you're sitting down to watch this film as an Omen film, you're not going to get that experience. So, would I recommend the film? No. But would I recommend it for a good time? Yes. Into the top 3, coming in at number 3 is going to be Damien Omen 2. Now, to be fair, the sequel is fine. I don't think it's a horrible sequel. It's a fine enough sequel as its own. I like what they do with Damien in this film. I do think it he is utilized well, especially for an older child. They do good with him. I do like how they focus more on him. And I do like the setting for this film, but I do wish they did more with it. But it's not perfect by all means, but it's basically just the same story as that first film. It's basically beat for beat of the same story. It's the original where they're trying to prove that Damien is the Antichrist and shit like that. It's just the same film, but it's still damn good time, and it goes for more of that slasher aspect with this, which I don't think fits Damien and fits this Omen franchise. I don't really feel that's what fits this. That's not what that original film is, or that's not what that original film is trying to do. But again, I got some enjoyment out of here, and the kills, I will admit, are fine. But as accidental deaths wise, they're not fantastic. The one that comes to my mind, and is the best kill of this movie alone, is when the scientist guy, he finds out something about Damien. He's about to die in this elevator, but he gets out and he's lying on the ground, like panting in belief, like, "Oh, I survived." But then the elevator like cuts off, and it's slow, and it's really coming after him, like really fast. And then it shows him getting cut in half. That was gory as hell, and I thought that was amazing. That let alone. Oh, Damien Omen 2, it's a good sequel enough. It's not a sequel that offends me. It's not something that hurts that original film by all means. But it is still an entertaining sequel. However, I wouldn't put this on right after the original, but I could see myself putting it on after the original every once in a while. Coming in at number two, this movie is one of the biggest surprises of the year that it's not in the bottom three, and that is The First Omen, the new kid on the block. You want to talk about huge surprises? This is one of them. When this movie was coming out, I heard about the film. I saw some TV spots. I didn't watch the trailer fully. I watched some of it and I turned it off because it looked horrible to me. I had no faith in this film whatsoever. I saw trailers and TV spots and I said, this movie looks horrible. Why is this movie being made? Why is this movie even coming out? I had zero faith in the film. I go to check it out for my birthday on Friday, which was my birthday film. And I go and watch it with my buddies for a little birthday celebration. We had a good time. And oh my god, I was in utter shock how much I actually enjoyed this film. Now, I will admit, this is not a film that you need to go and watch just as a general audience, because my friends who had never seen The Omen, they've never seen it, not even my own mother. They've never seen The Omen, they've never watched it, and they were saying that it was okay. But as someone who loves that original Omen film, who's someone who adores that first film, there is a lot of elements in here to where it is a great prequel to that original film. And I hate prequels. I've said it numerous times. I'm not a prequel guy. Whenever you announce a prequel, I will be the man on that hill saying, we don't want this. We don't want answers to questions. We don't want answers to these things that are from that original film or from a previous film. We're not looking for answers. However, this film, it doesn't feel like a prequel. It feels just like a fun Omen film that's also really fucking disturbing. Like, I was in utter shock how good this movie was and how disturbing this film was. I don't get scared easily by horror films. Like, I might be like, oh god, like a quick jump or something like that. But there's a moment in this film that legit scared the shit out of me. And I haven't been scared like that in a very long time. I was on the edge of my seat like, oh my god. And this movie's also gross. It's disgusting. So don't watch this film with eating popcorn. However, the first Omen isn't perfect. It does have a few elements here. There are a few subplots here and there that are introduced but don't really go anywhere. And they try to do these other things outside the actual plot that I thought shouldn't have really been there. And at some occasions, it doesn't really feel like an Omen film, and it feels like a boring religion film. I haven't seen Immaculate, and I have seen this film be compared to that. Maybe once I watch that film, I'll understand. But The First Omen, one of the biggest surprises of the year, one of the biggest horror films of the year, and so far is my favorite of the year, but we haven't gotten many yet. But yeah, First Omen, it's my number two on my ranking, and it was an absolute surprise. Coming in at my number one, this should be no surprise to anybody, really, and that is the original Omen. I almost said The First Omen, but I already talked about that. And that is The Omen, the original classic from 1976. I fucking love this movie. There's nothing about this film that has not already been said. The original Omen is one of my favorite films of all time, one of my favorite horror films of all time. The concept of this film is terrifying to me. That score in this film is iconic. Actually have like no negatives with this film, except for one kill. One kill in this film, and it's more of a nitpick. One of my favorite films of all time, one of my favorite 70s horror films of all time. There's nothing about this film that hasn't been said. It's just one of the most influential horror films. It's one of those horror films that kicked off the horror genre in the 70s, and it's one of those horror films that where I feel that even if you're not a horror fan, you're gonna love this film because it has stuff there for other audiences, like relationship issues or whatever if you're into that shit. But yeah, the original Omen, it's an absolute classic for a reason. It's one of the most praised horror films of all time for a reason, and it is, of course, my number one. Well, so much for watching my own personal ranking of all six Omen films, and leave me your ranking down in the comments below, and we shall debate and talk about it. And if you liked my ranking, like it. If you loved this video, subscribe to this bell notifications so you will get notified for all of my latest videos. And of course, until my next ranking or my next video, see you all next time.